A minute, Ariel. I can feel you, but I can't stop you, and I don't want to, so I don't. And they can't see us, so they can't stop us. Even if they could, we keep on going, going, going. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid of them. I'm not scared of what they'll say, 'cause holding you is worth the pain. Our war's coming. So I whisper your name, and I look at your face. Never thought I'd get this close. Never let myself hold. Yeah. And I turn on the lights, and I pull back the shades. Let them find us, let them find us, 'cause I'm not ashamed, ashamed, ashamed. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid of them. I'm not scared of what they'll say, 'cause holding you is worth the pain. I'm what's coming. 'Cause it's not wrong. It's not wrong. It's not wrong. It's not wrong. No, it's not wrong. No, it's not wrong. Our love's 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 not wrong. I'm not afraid. I'm not scared of what they'll say, 'cause holding you is worth the pain of what's coming. Baby, baby, I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid.
Whew. I got the chills. I got the chills.
Good. That's what it's meant for.
Whew. That's the best way to start out a live, I must say.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Hi, everybody. I'm Heather May.
Hi, everyone. Okay, so for those of you just tuning in, this is Heather May. Today we're going to talk about a lot of stuff. She's amazing. She's inspiring. I have so many questions. So we're going to dive right in. I would first love it if you would introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you as an artist.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am a social justice mental health advocate, singer, songwriter. My music is mission and heart based. My music ranges from alt pop, indie pop to 70s electric guitar and Americana blend. I mean, it's really depends upon what the mission of the song to make the sound change. But I usually say if Sarah Bareilles, T and Tegan and Sarah had a kid, then they would make me and add a little guitar in there. Yeah, and I'm based in Washington D.C. and my music is very much influenced by this area that I live in right now. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
The orange monster was in town the other day, and his motorcade drove by, and it was just like horrible,
Yeah.
horrible
Yeah.
feeling.
Yeah, that's my town.
Yeah.
But it's good inspiration. It's good. I always have material.
Totally.
Yeah.
So you have had a big whack to the head with COVID.
Yeah.
It has taken away what we talked about in the pre-call and your
Yeah.
lovely, generous email, 75% of your livelihood, because your
Yeah.
livelihood was being on the road. And you have very quickly pivoted and brought all of your fans onto Patreon.
Yeah, some of them. I'm always looking for more. But it's hard right now with COVID, and I mean everybody's life has changed. But I talk to them about that if they want more and when they have the ability to give, that's where I'll be. Yeah.
And tell me, you wrote to me about your story, which is going to go in my book
Yay!
that's coming up in the top of the new year, The Ultimate Guide to Music Publicity. And I'm focusing on all kinds of communication and how artists need to communicate, obviously not only to the media, but also to everyone, your social media, your publicist, your sponsors, the industry, on your email list, in your text message, if you have one, on your Patreon or in your crowdfunding campaign, on the DSPs, on your website. You have to write a mini bio. You have to have a bio with little emojis for your Instagram. And it's sort of this endless communication thing that needs to happen.
Yeah, and it can be exhausting.
Yes, I think it's totally exhausting and
Yeah.
super unfair that, you're not just allowed to create art. But I would love to hear a little bit about, did Patreon for you start right when the pandemic hit, or had you already been dabbling in it a little bit?
I had been dabbling in it a little bit. I started my Patreon in May of last year, in 2019. I had an album coming out in September. I knew that I was going to be on the road even more so than ever before. I knew I wanted to make music videos and do photo shoots and create content to ramp up promotion. And so I launched Patreon to get my fans to, I would give them exclusive content. It was always the same. It was like they would see the music videos before they came out. They would get behind the scenes photos, and I would release like a cover video, a like holiday song, like things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But it was not what it was now. I stuck to a formula, a musician's formula before. And when I threw out the playbook and started totally,
as we all did, right in the garbage.
Yep. And I started. I gave my fans what they really needed, which was not necessarily my music, and that's okay, because as long as I can keep making it, as long as I can keep making music, then I will give them whatever they need in order for me to thrive and continue to survive as a musician right now. And what I need is funds. I need to be able to supplement my income. Well, that totally was eradicated. And what they need is something to fill their time, something to give them meaning, community, care, somebody who listens. And so I switched immediately, and I said, if you can help me thrive and continue to write music and keep my lights on, which is the thing that I say to my patrons, if you can help me keep my lights on, I will give you the content that I know you love aside from my music.
Yeah, so talk to us. I've stalked your Patreon and I've watched your social media, so I know a little bit. Share with us a little bit about these types of extra lovely things that you've been sharing.
Yes. So right now, I think about my life, and I know that all the things that I used to use as outlets that would help me maintain my mental health, um, those things are gone and I can't reach out to them as much, you know? And the first thing that came to mind was, well, okay, I'll give them a space where they can share community, a place where they can gather and feel and know that they are apart, but they are together. Because the first thing that went for all of us was we had to stay home, and that meant that we couldn't like necessarily get on a plane and go see a family member. We couldn't gather at wineries and hang out with friends, and so we're home. And I know, as somebody who has mental illness, that isolation breeds darkness.
Yes.
Isolation can lead to, and we have an election coming up. So as a social justice songwriter, I'm like, we need to continue to rally. So I thought, okay, I'll create gatherings. Instead of just a concert, I will give them a concert and crafting night with me. So we can make our homes feel that same energy that we had when they would come to my shows, and we would help each other thrive. So it was something small like that. And then they were like, they said that they wanted to know a little bit more about my life. So I started, instead of posting about the songs or the tours that I was doing, instead I posted about tips and tricks for gardening, which I've really gotten into gardening. So I started doing that. And then that led to, if I can't have concerts, what I can do is the other side of the work that I do, which is community organizing. I could give them classes from a sommelier who's a friend of mine and a feminist and a lesbian, and we'll have a conversation about feminism in the restaurant business and how we can support women. I can hire a sex educator, somebody who's body positive and sex positive, and have them teach about getting through trauma and brains and pleasure and women's bodies and non-binary humans. And I could have a feminist panel on women in politics and how to get out the vote in their own town. So all of these things are all under an umbrella that I launched in my Patreon called Grow and Glow. Gather, learn, flourish together. On top of all the other things that they're getting otherwise, but instead I'm finding that I am bringing in people who loved my Instagram, maybe didn't come to a show, but they love my Instagram, they love my body positivity, they love my positive vibe, and so they come on over to my Patreon, and then they're like, oh, I also love your album Glimmer. So, yeah,
It's so interesting as we shifted away from this paradigm. I started in the music business 25 years ago when it was really about the music.
Yeah.
It was about the music. I was a publicist, and I just talked about the music. That was what we did. And of course, as everything else emerged, it becomes about the brand and the storytelling and your personality. And what I love about what you've done on your Patreon is you've almost reverse engineered. You've created a festival. You've created panels and workshops and tactical things for us to do together. And then you've introduced your music, I don't want to say last because that was the platform. But what's fascinating about that is they came to it last and they love it even more because they're connected to you for all those other things that you're shedding a light on. So this is something that I wish more artists could understand, because we do a lot of social media management for clients, and it's sometimes, it's not sometimes, it's 99% of the time like pulling teeth, where they just give us their music and a headshot. And we're like, and we're supposed to do what with this 30 times a week? So kudos to you for thinking like that. And of course, the more you expand the conversation and you bring people that want to participate in those elements, you open up your crowd. Chris Matthews just joined. So excited to be with you tomorrow. I just got hired by Global Music Match. You had, out of the hundreds of videos I watched, Chris, the best. I loved your video. All about saying hello in 100 languages. It was fabulous. And I I also saw you guys were supposed to tour together. Obviously,
Yeah.
that went to pot.
Yep.
Um,
But we went virtual instead. We decided, okay, so if we can't tour in person, well, I'll just bring my show to your living room. And we decided to do 24 shows in 24 shows in 30 days. Yeah. 24
holy
shows in 30
God.
days.
Okay,
Yeah.
so were you together in a room when you did that?
Yeah.
Or
Chris,
yeah,
Chris is tuning in from her room, which is over there. Yeah,
got
we
it.
live
Okay,
together. Yep, we're tour mates. We live together. She's just
got
over there.
it.
Probably in her pajamas and everything.
Fab. I'm wearing pajama bottoms right now, just FYI.
Perfect.
Okay,
Perfect.
so that's amazing that you managed to do that. What was that experience like to do a fully virtual tour?
So we did it right as everybody was starting to do venue hosted shows. You know what I mean? So it was a little, it was like, well, I'm gonna be real. We were inventing the wheel. No one had done this. No independent artists I'd ever. There were some major label artists who had done like 3 shows and they were sponsored by venues and they were
Right.
like, "This is my CD release tour." My CD release tour got canceled and they had like millions of people tuning into each one. But as independent artists, no one had done this. We did the first ever virtual independent tour. And what we did is we linked up with venues, each one, and we had a different venue in each city. And it really depends upon the venue's promotion. I would say to any artists that are watching right now, I would say that you should consider giving your venues a like as easy as it could possibly be. Make it as easy as you possibly can on them. Give them the graphic, give them the like highlight reel, give them a schedule of the dates, like the ticket giveaway, the Instagram takeover from the very beginning, and make sure that they're following along with all of that, as well as asking them, how do your fans buy tickets? Do your fans buy tickets via your newsletter? Do they buy tickets from your Instagram? What works for you? And then have them lean into that. It's definitely, ticket sales are, when you do a virtual tour like that, it's critical that the venues help you promote to that regional area. Because if you think about it, like for every live stream that an artist does, you're tapping into the same, albeit giant, but you're tapping into the same pool, right? So when a venue comes in, they're like, that's an entirely different digital crowd that you've never, so you want to make sure that they are definitely leading with the promotion. And I cannot say this enough, musicians, you deserve to be paid for your time. So ask for a small, even if it's small, just ask for a guarantee and have them, especially if the venue has a restaurant. If the venue has a restaurant, we want to take care of our venues, definitely. We need to make sure that we give them a cut of whatever we're making, 100%. But if the venue has a restaurant, they're probably making funds from the food that they're selling. So if they have a restaurant, ask for a guarantee. Make sure that, because your time is worth it. Your time is 100% worth it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Ariel Silver asked a great question about all of your events on Patreon. Are you doing them all on Patreon directly, or do you do some of them on other lives? Do you mix it up a little and give people a taste for free? How are you positioning?
So what I do is, it is exclusive through my Patreon. If they would like to support and they want to be a part of these awesome events, they can start at the $1 level. And I make it accessible for people because I want them to eventually love it so much that they're like, you know what, I'm going to give $5 this month. Even if it comes down to $1, it's not necessarily the dollar amount that I care about. And this is 100% controversial. I know I've gotten into so many debates with my friends about this, but I'm sticking to it because I've seen it in my own work. It's actually moved. It's proven for me that I don't care if they start at $1 and it's accessible. Everything's accessible for $1 because I know that those people, I'm not looking for the dollar amount, I'm looking for loyalty, because after a while, that person at $1 is going to eventually in a year get to $10. If they can. And if they can't, then they'll go back to $1, or they'll tell another person about it. What I care about is fan loyalty, making them not feel like just one number in the mix of, bless you,
Thank
number in the thousands, but one
Right.
person that I genuinely know and care about. That's
Right.
what I care about.
That's fantastic. Okay, so let's talk about how did you ask? I've written an entire book on crowdfunding and obviously coaching a lot of artists in social media and in PR. It's all about the ask. And I think it's very uncomfortable for artists to
Yeah.
ask.
Yeah.
It's like they'd rather die than ask. And I even remember, coaching some artists from like, hey, when you're on stage and you do actually happen to have a giant table full of awesome merch, you might wanna. No, I would never say anything. It's crazy how resistant they
Mm-hmm.
are.
Yeah.
So how did you launch? Okay, so you had Patreon, but then it was obviously time to like pump up the volume on that.
Right.
Um, how did the ask go? How did you begin to get your fans on board with Patreon? And then did you ask for upsells, downsells? Like, how did you structure the money piece?
So I just wrote about this for you, so I'm just going to give a little snippet of that. I know it will be in your book, so I'll just give a little bite. So in my opinion, musicians should think of their fans, and again, I have had so many musicians eye roll at this, but this is the way it works for me, and it's working for a lot of musicians I know. I think of my fans not just as a number in a seat, somebody who's filling a seat, not just as a person, a number on my social media, but as a friend.
Yeah.
And for me, I think of my friends in real life and real life in here in the I have somebody I would call upon for help, right? We all know what it's like to have that person in our lives who asks and asks and asks and never gives or sits and just listens, and we've all at some point we all have been this way. Humans are naturally selfish because we want to survive and thrive and not die, right? So we have all been that person when we've taken just a little too much, and then the next time you need to ask a friend, to, hey, will you promote this show for me? Or, hey, will you come help me move? Or, hey, will you go pick up my uncle from the airport? And you've already asked them to like buy you dinner and take you to the grocery store or clean your house or whatever. You've already asked them for so much. Now you're asking them again. So when you approach them, it feels like you have this moment, we all do, where you go, I can't, I don't. So what do we do in that situation? What we reach out and we say, how are you doing? How's it going? I've been feeling like I've been taking a lot. And I want to check in with you. I want to like balance it out. Can I take you for a glass of wine? And I just want to hear about your day. We naturally balance it out because that's friendship, right?
Mm-hmm.
For your fans, in my opinion, it's the same thing. When we are constantly asking, vote for me in this competition, follow me on this blank, pre-save.
Like
Oh my
endless.
gosh, right. I was just literally saying that. Pre-save, Patreon, good,
Right. Subscribe to me on YouTube. Like it's this endless.
And as you said, right? So like if a person posts a video of a song, watch this, please like it and share. Then the next thing is a picture of them and they're like, I'm playing Hotel Cafe next Wednesday. And the next thing is, here's all the tickets to my entire tour. And then the next thing is, here's my Patreon. The reason people have that resistance to you, Ariel, when they're like, I don't want to ask that on stage. The reason is because just as a friend, we know when we've asked too much.
Mm.
I never worry about asking too much of my fans. And the reason is because it is balanced. I give them music that makes them heal. My music is social justice. They share it in their activism. I give them live streams that make them cry and feel seen and loved. I give them workshops that inspire them. I give them creative content that fills their soul. I even share pictures of my cat, my wife, my cooking, my plants, and my own journey with mental health. So when I ask them to support me on Patreon because I want to give to them, what could possibly feel about that?
Right. Hey, girl, I agree. Like,
Yeah.
I've run a company in the black for 25 years. I get it.
I know you have. I know you have.
Yeah. So it's funny that you say that. Jen O'Hagan, who is my PR director, wrote, "Love, Heather May. You've been such a strong badass. I watched you perform at launch in 2017 and I cried. You
Oh
rock."
my gosh. That was
So there you go.
Wow. Thank you.
Okay, so for those artists who might be tuning in and they're not social justice, they
Yeah.
haven't shared their personal mental journey because
They're private.
they're extremely private.
Yeah.
How do they position what you're saying? And like, some artists just make music because you should go out and shake your ass on the dance floor. And
Yeah,
it is
absolutely.
not music that is meant to touch, move, inspire, change the world. Although I think all music changes the world in some way. But you know what I'm getting at here.
Yeah.
What do those artists do?
So everybody who has a fan base, those people found your music because it tapped into them. It tapped something in them that made them feel like, why are those people if you write music that is meant to make people shake their asses on the dance floor, why do you want them to shake their asses on the dance floor? Is it because the world is weird right now and so I'm giving you this song? Say that. Are you doing it because at some point, did you write this song because it made you feel, it came from a place of just bored? And I was just bored. And so what does that mean? What does bored mean? I was sitting at home staring at my hands and I'm an artist and I'm supposed to give more. Say that. Say the thing that instead of just being about the music, tell them the story of who you are. Nobody is a whiteboard. Everybody is a piece of art. What colors do you just show them your palette? Show them what you do to fill your day. I can guarantee you there is not, I mean, maybe there is a couple musicians who literally wake up, turn on Netflix, sit, go up to bed, fall asleep. Maybe there are, but I don't think that they're probably not thriving right now, and they're probably not making great music. But if you are a musician who is creating something from nothing, you have to have an imagination. You have to have heart. There's something in there that is making you see the world and go, you know what would make this place even better? My music. And so you create something.
Yeah.
What is that? What fills you up? So you don't have to be a social justice songwriter. I do marketing for people on the side and do like Instagram content creation and branding when I'm not launching an entire Patreon campaign. And one of the things that I say to them is, you don't have to be a social justice songwriter or a mental health advocate to care about your fans. You have a personality and you do things that make you feel good, that make you write your songs. There are things in the world that you love. Start with that. Talk about what you love and humanize yourself. Be more than just a musician. Be a friend to your fans. Let them in and they will support you. There's actually an amazing TED Talk that inspired this whole thing. I'm sure you know it. The power of why, or beginning with, I can't remember it. Beginning with why. Do you know what I'm talking about? It's instead of a brand starting with what, how, and why, which is like, we're a cell phone company and we make stainless steel phones with really great glass. This is terrible. This is why I would never be a cell phone ad. So like, we make really good cell phones that with state-of-the-art technology. We believe that you should be able to connect with your family at any place in the world. We're going to start with organic products. Will you help us? Right? Instead of starting with the cell phone, which is the what, they start with the why. The why is...
Ariel Silver just chimed in. Thank you, Ariel. It's Simon Sinek's speech.
Yes! So good. And it starts with the why. You start with the whole concept is you start with what people believe in, and then
Right.
they will buy what you make.
Right.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's, of course, grocery delivery right now. Thank you. So yeah, it's heart-led marketing as
Yeah.
opposed to, and also when you can start with the why, you're already answering a lot of your own questions about what your reason is before you even get out in front of your fans. So
Yeah.
that's tremendous.
Yeah.
Um, there's another TED Talk about asking, which is the most famous one, of course, which is Amanda Palmer's. If you
Yes.
haven't seen it, to me, she's the godmother, the queen of all fearlessness around asking.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that she delivers that talk is really beautiful. So those
Yeah.
are two to watch for those of you youngins
Absolutely.
especially. I can't believe like how old that TED Talk with Amanda actually is. But you know, if you think about it, that's what led her to, in the end, create $1 million
Yeah.
Kickstarter campaign.
Yes. And it's
Um,
not just the art of asking. It is um I almost put this in the piece that I wrote for your book, but there's one. I love everything Amanda Palmer. I follow her. I support her on Patreon because she's a wizard. Um, there's one step I think that goes further than that, um, which is you ask authentically, and
yes,
you tell them what you need, rather than try and smoke and mirror and
right,
like, no, rather than, I love this word, rather than buzz up the hype, that hype that we all want, um, just ask them because you're a human. And then the next step is give to them,
right,
prove to them that you are an artist worth helping. You don't have to, if you don't have the time, you just want to write your songs, that's fine, that's great. That doesn't work for me, and it doesn't work for a lot of musicians I know, especially right now, because when the pandemic hit, people realized I can't just do the music thing right now. I
right,
can't, because if I can't tour, oh my god, where am I going to get my streams of income?
right.
Yeah. My heart and giving of to my time to my fans, um, it changed everything for me. You should definitely get a scheduler and a time app counter, because it can be a lot. I know that there are some people out there who are like, I don't have time to talk to all my fans. Totally, have a scheduler, have
Yeah,
it
but you know what I
capped.
say to that? If you don't have time to talk to your fans, then you don't deserve fans. You know,
Yeah,
this is not a one-way conversation.
yeah,
And, you know, maybe in the 60s and 70s it was, but it's not the way that it works anymore. Um, and I think now more than ever, brands all understand that. Strong brands, no matter if it's Tide washing detergent
right,
on down, right? They understand the value and the power
yeah.
of two-way conversations and shining a light on those people. I had a consultation with one of my longtime clients this morning, and they want to get thousands and thousands and thousands of new followers. And I was like, okay, great. Why don't we just email your current mailing list, the people that haven't opened it in the last 6 months,
Yes.
and ask them to just email you back. Ask them a question. Ask them how they're feeling. Ask them how their pandemic's going. Ask them what their favorite cocktail is. Ask them anything.
What's their favorite recipe that they cooked since going into quarantine? Yes.
Totally. And don't worry about the thousands of people out there, right? Worry
Yes.
about how to already warm up the people that are already in your world that you can get your arms around.
Yeah.
So I'd love for you, so Patreon has been a major way that you've been monetizing right now. And I know you're also doing some paid live streaming. How are you structuring those? And do you have a schedule for that? And how are you monetizing and asking for money around those?
So for me, as a social justice songwriter, I do concerts with Unitarian Universalist churches who are doing like get out the vote performances or events. I've been performing for PACs and get out the vote nonprofits and organizations who are helping to take back the White House. So that's the most of the work that I'm doing right now is in that. So what I would say is to the musicians who aren't necessarily social justice songwriters, although right now, if you are not a musician who is talking about this election and you have a following, what are you doing? Because your fans will see it. Those fans who are in a marginalized community, those fans who are in oppressed groups, they're noticing that you are quiet. Share one thing in your story a day about the election and show them your heart. That's a really great way. You want an intro into showing your heart right now? That's a great way. Show them your values, show them your morals, show them that you care about those groups of fans of yours. And so I'm mainly right now doing structured events or live streams through other people's Facebook pages, not my own. I become an admin of their Facebook page and then I go live on their page, or they contact me and I say, absolutely, I'll set up a Zoom. I will send you the link. You share it with anyone you would like. And then that way I have all of the ability to get the right sound, have like the capability of having overlays on my image. So that's.
And are you using OBS for those overlays, or how are you organizing?
So if I'm going on a Facebook Live, I use StreamYard, which we're using right here. Hi. But for private Zoom, I actually use a teacher's program called Manycam. Yes, not many people know about it. It is awesome. I love it. It's a paid subscription, but so is StreamYard.
Right.
And basically Zoom chooses it as the camera function. And so instead of it being like FaceTime camera, Logitech, Brio camera, it's like Manycam virtual webcam. You click that, and so anything that you use in this other additional program on Manycam, anything you put on top of it, Zoom sees it. It's awesome. It's like OBS, but OBS and Zoom.
I just find OBS, it's like it's already too much to get out of bed in the morning, and then OBS. Are you freaking kidding me? No.
I've been using OBS I used OBS for like the first 11 weeks of quarantine and taught myself everything, and it was great. But you can't use OBS in Zoom. And so I want to do private events on Zoom and make them a paid donation event. But I don't want them just staring at my face. I want to have overlays. And so how you do that is Manycam. It's great.
Manycam.
Manycam. Yeah.
Manycam.
Manycam. Yep. And teachers use it. They've been using it for virtual teaching for, I think maybe 10, 15 years or something. I found YouTube videos 15 years ago. It's confusing, but it's much easier than OBS.
Okay, great. So I'm just going to post that in the notes on all the things. We're almost at the end. It's amazing how fast 40 minutes will fly by. Totally. Does anyone have a burning question for Miss Heather May? I have 1,000 more questions, but I'd like to open it up. If anyone wants to ask her about any of the things we're talking about.
Yeah, and to Ariel Silver, I want to say, are you doing these events on Patreon directly? I use Zoom. I just post the stream event to Zoom.
Oh, great. So you're not just going right at Patreon. I see. You're using Zoom.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool.
See, I'm looking if there's any other. There was one question I think earlier and I didn't see.
Oh, was there? Okay.
Yeah, if anybody has any questions about Patreon or Instagram marketing, I will happily help you.
I would like to ask you, when I did my crowdfunding campaign, there were so many miracles and amazing things that happened, but the big surprise for me was there was someone who had been on my mailing list for years. It was 20 minutes before the campaign was ending, and she pledged $7,500. She bought like the super deluxe package that I just put in there like, okay, no one's ever going to buy this. And of course, like it was like the most, I was standing in a grocery store when it happened. I just started crying,
Crying.
and
Oh, absolutely.
became a friend. She's just an activist, an amazing woman.
Wow.
So tell me, have you had any super fans come rise to the top and do something? You don't have to
Yes.
share numbers if that feels uncomfortable, but
Yeah.
do if you want. Um, who has surprised you?
I've had my car break down on the side of the road, and somebody send me $800 so that I could get a rental car for my band and I. I've had I had another time where my car was, again, another car thing. What's with car? It's a car thing. I don't know. I had another time where my car was having issues with my gas tank. I can't remember. This was a couple years ago. And somebody, I posted about it once and was like, oi, 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 to be an independent musician by yourself on the road. And somebody wrote and was like, I want to help you. You've helped me. I want to help you. And the thing is, this is what I'll say to you. They are I'm not surprised at all somebody did that for you, because your whole business model, I mean, I have turned to you so many times in cyber PR to be like, to learn, am I doing this right? Your whole model is about giving. Give, educate, give. If your model is based on how can I help my fans, not let me write this, why aren't they listening to me? Then your fans aren't going to show up. They're not going to come in on the hour when you most need them, because they're not interacting with you on a daily basis.
You haven't given them a reason to care. That's it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Amazing. Yeah. I could talk to you all day. I'm sure you have a life to go lead, and Instagram kind of kick us off in a moment.
Totally.
Where can everyone find you? How do you like people to communicate with you these days? Patreon, obviously.
Yeah, Patreon. So patreon.com/HeatherMay. And it's super simple. You can go in and support me for $1. Listen, musicians, if you want to know what I'm doing, steal from me. I say this all the time. We steal from each other. You should steal from me. I want musicians to thrive. Go in, support me for $1, and learn, and maybe check out some events. We've got a lot happening this month. I have a mental health support group that meets every other week. So if you're a musician who's looking for mental health care, come on over. And then you can follow me right up there above Ariel's head, Heather May Music. Follow me on Instagram, and I would love for you to come hang out. That's the best place. Instagram, Patreon.
Thank you so much for your time today. Absolutely. Deeply appreciated. Continue to kick ass. I look forward to seeing everything you're putting out, and have a great rest of your Tuesday.
You too. Bye.